Hey everyone, Havn Life Sciences, like many psychedelic stocks, has been hit hard over the past 12 months, but they just purchased a company that'll generate $20 million of revenue immediately. So, is the stock now undervalued? Find out now in our latest podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dales Report podcast, and happy to be joined today with Tim Moore, CEO of Havn Life. Back to the podcast. It's been about a year. You look great. How are things?
Things are great, Shad. It's good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I know it's been very challenging for the industry. I know a lot of people have been stressed out the last few months, but man, this industry, as far as states decriminalizing, governments, in Canada, obviously the special access program, the news that came out earlier this month. Do you not think, outside of the whole investment community, this industry has made huge strides in the past 12 months?
Yeah, I think it has. I mean, it has been a turbulent year, let's face it. I mean, we had sort of heady days a year ago when there was a bit of a run up on investors who were coming into the market. Yeah. And that's kind of backed off. But we've seen some terrific news in the last 12 months. We've seen some great research that's being conducted. And, people forget that this is like real science. These are real legitimate labs and universities that are doing this work. You've got, King's College and Imperial College in the UK. You've got University of Toronto, UBC.
And these are top-notch universities.
Yeah, they all have centers for psychedelics, and so people forget that, and this research has been going on for an awfully long time. There's nothing new to it. The last 12 months we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot about attitudes. We've seen the policymakers that have moved. The Ann Arbors and Denvers and Washington, D.C. and Oregon and all this decriminalization, which really doesn't create much of a commercial opportunity, frankly, but it does indicate that attitudes are changing. And the other kind of significant story, I think, two. One is Health Canada with the Special Access Program. That's a big change. And about a month ago, the DEA announced an increase in the limits on how much of these controlled substances researchers could hold because they recognized that the previous limits were impractical. So it was a 50x increase for things like LSD and DMT and psilocybin.
50x, think about that. 50x. Not 2 or 3, but 50. Why do you think that was?
Well, because they recognize if they're going to allow people to do research, they're going to have to make it happen. And you can't run a clinical trial if you've only got 1 gram of the active ingredient on hand. Yeah. Right. You have to be able to prepare doses and ultimately what the government wants to provide is safe and reliable supply of these products, which is, the same thing we saw in cannabis, that all of the regulations and were around safety, really. Mm-hmm. How do we get the right testing in place? How do we, make sure that product isn't contaminated? And with the controlled substances, it's safety around the quality of that product, but they have anxiety around what they call diversion. They don't want the LSD from a research facility showing up on the street. So the rules are all driven around safety. Yeah. And we will continue to go down that road, that's for sure. You talked about commercialize, something that you actually are doing. I want to begin with what you recently entered into a definitive agreement to acquire what's called Spore Life Sciences, which is a revenue-generating wellness brand focused on functional mushroom formulations. When I look at this, they have a U.S. consumer base of more than 110,000, along with 40,000 subscribers. So what's the big takeaway for investors concerning this acquisition? What do you share with them? Well, we've talked over the last 2 years, we've talked about our desire to enter the U.S. market with our nutraceuticals and nutritional supplements, but to do that when Cashflow permitted it. And by doing an all-stock deal, we were able basically to accelerate that plan and acquire a business that's already in revenue without having to spend millions of dollars in cash to build it. We bought an existing business, and Michael Zabit, who's CEO over there, he and his team have done this great job of building this machine and creating these efficient sales funnels to capture consumers in a recurring revenue model. So we're really excited by it. I think it's a terrific addition for for Havn, and I think it's going to add value for our shareholders.
So you enter into the U.S. market. So first off, how much is the functional mushroom forecasted to grow over the next year? And how do you, I guess, sustain revenue, but not only sustain, but grow it from here? Like, what's the overall strategy?
Well, the market's huge. So let's at the macro level, let's look at that. 75% of consumers take nutritional supplements on a regular basis, right? So I've been taking tart cherry for my gout and glucosamine and chondroitin for my arthritis. And so now, because I'm in the business, I've augmented with mushroom products as well. So it's a very well-established consumer behavior. The total nutritional supplement industry is billions of dollars. Functional mushrooms are the fastest growing segment within that, projected to be multi-billion-dollar segment of nutritional supplements just through functional mushrooms. So there's a tremendous amount of upside. Spore, even with their volume, last year they did a total of $9 million, $5 million of which was done in the fourth quarter. But
healthy
really
numbers,
but really small market share. 40,000 subscribers sounds like a big number, but you've got 350 million consumers in the U.S. So the total available market is fantastic.
Huge. It's amazing how much this industry has grown over the past year or so, is it not?
It really is, yeah. And we're excited at the growth potential on the nutritional supplement side, while we're on that very long drug development path on our psychedelic side.
So 110,000 consumers, 40,000 subscribers. As you said, we look at revenue. Last quarter, sales exceeded 5 million. And for the last 12 months, we're over 9 million, which indicates, as you said, healthy growth. So as we know, current state affairs in this industry, it's almost every psychedelic company is currently not generating any revenue. So based on this acquisition, where do you see yourself positioned based off of it?
Well, again, if you go back to the thesis of our business when we started, was to build our psychedelic business, create a supply chain of naturally derived psilocybin, which we've done. But we always wanted to have a complementary nutritional supplement business to provide cash during the growth of the psychedelics business. Mm-hmm. And so we've accelerated that. And, if you take the last quarter of Spore sales and just annualize that, it's a $20 million run rate that we're looking at, which means we've got the potential to get to cash flow positive on that business probably within the next 12 months. The other opportunity it provides us, because a subscription-based recurring revenue model business is quite predictable, and the algorithms are easy to manage. So we'll be able to provide guidance to the market at some point in 2022, and I think that investors will be happy to see that when we can provide them with an indication of what we think our next quarter revenue is going to look like, and then deliver against that.
Do you see a lot of psychedelic companies in the industry going this route, getting into the whole functional mushroom? Because it seems like from a pure branding perspective, it makes sense and it's immediate revenue, but it obviously has to put yourself in a great position right now, heading into 2022, knowing that, like you said, there's going to be revenue actually generated.
Yeah, so I know of two companies that have a model that's the same, where they're cultivating psilocybin mushrooms and they have a nutritional supplement business. One of them's a private company called Versio, and the other one's a public company called Filament. Neither one of them have a $20 million run rate revenue, though. I think they're both great businesses, and I've met CEOs of both companies. So they're good guys. So, and I think competition is a good thing. I think competition keeps us sharp and is ultimately good for the market.
Do you ever get any feedback from shareholders to say, okay, you're focusing on psychedelic research, you're focusing on functional mushrooms now, like what are we? Is there any concerns based off of that? And if so, like what's your response to it?
I do get that question occasionally, but what I remind them is both businesses are supporting cognitive health.
Okay.
So psychedelics are for acute mental health issues. The functional mushrooms are for less acute issues, but nonetheless important, whether that's focus or anxiety or sleep or immunity, they're still important. So our mission statement is all around cognitive health and human performance, and both sides of the business support that.
Before this acquisition, you already had developed a sales channel for your own line of natural plant supplements. So from a macro market perspective, what's the opportunity here, you think, for Havn in terms of sizable market share in the overall growth, health and wellness market? Because you indicated 40,000 subscribers seems like a lot, but you've got 350 million people in the U.S., so it's such a huge market potential for this industry.
Yeah, so our Havn Life nutritional supplements, we have 7 SKUs. We acquired Bennett's Choice in September with its traumatic brain injury formula. It's another 4 SKUs, so we have 11 SKUs in our portfolio and more in the pipeline. The Spore business brings us 9 SKUs that are in the market. So we have 20 different products that have exceptionally little overlap. It's very complementary. So we're going to be able to take the Havn formulas and roll them into the Spore portfolio under the Spore name. We're going to be able to take the Spore marketing model and apply it to the Havn business. Yeah, there's room in the market for both brands. We don't have plans to do a Datsun Nissan brand change. The Spore brand name is going to survive and live alongside the Havn Life brand, and because as you point out, there's so much space out there. There's lots of opportunity to build both brands. Yeah, and Havn Life is positioned very much as a health product as opposed to Spore, which more is a lifestyle brand positioning. So they appeal to 2 different consumer groups. Mm-hmm.
I talk to everybody everywhere all the time as far as the whole functional mushroom industry, and it blows my mind away. I was out golfing this summer, and 3 of the 4 guys in the foursome, they're all on functional mushrooms and feeling laser focused. But it is a huge, huge trend right now that just continues to grow. And it's anxious to see, obviously, how things will develop as we head into further 2022, but it's a big opportunity. I want to focus now on your psychedelic research side. I'd like to update my viewers on your psilocybin cultivation and processing division, which has successfully exported natural-derived psilocybin from your facility in Jamaica. So in Jamaica, into the U.S. So walk us through the importance of this. What's this translate to when it comes to exporting from your facility into the U.S., and why investors should take notice of this?
So just to go back, and what the basis of this business is, the majority of the research that's being done around the world right now, Shad, is using synthetic psilocybin, and we feel that there are at least 3 advantages to naturally derived. First of all, the synthetic psilocybin is $7,000 to $10,000 a gram and in very short supply. Secondly, it's a single molecule. It doesn't offer all the benefits of the plant, where naturally derived can do that. And third, there's patient preference. So, we recall synthetic THC was, there was a lot of saber rattling over it. It was no one was going to build greenhouses. We're just going to all take synthetic THC. Well, guess what? That didn't happen because the user community said, I want plant derived. We're seeing the same thing from patients that are seeking a psychedelic assisted therapy, that they want a plant derived product. So we've gone to Jamaica, where psilocybin is a functional food. We're operating under the Minister of Agriculture and cooperation with the government. The Jamaican government is keen to build a psychedelics industry there. They have their own mental health issues among their population, 2 particular groups that they've identified that are an acute need group. One is prisoners, and the second is abused women. And so they're building programs to support both of them with psychedelic assisted therapy. But it allowed us to accelerate our project and get on the ground there and cultivate mushrooms, where, we're about 3/4 of the way to our target capacity. We continue to grow that. And we've built up some inventory there to support our supply chain customers. But the fact that we were able to navigate the rules for exporting from Jamaica and importing into the U.S. and into Canada through Health Canada and through the DEA, it just shows that we've put together the intellectual capital to be able to do that. It's complicated. It really is complicated.
Why do you think this is such a big topic when it comes to natural derived versus synthetic? Because it is a big topic in this industry.
Yeah, well, again, the genesis of the psychedelic drugs has all been plant-based, and it's, we've had traditional use for thousands of years, whether it's the shamans in Siberia or tribes in South America or North American indigenous people. We've seen these psychedelic products being used from a plant. And that's what people are seeking, is an alternative to pharmaceuticals, whether it's because of dependency or weight gain or sexual dysfunction or whatever it is. People are not excited about the pharmaceutical choices for anxiety and depression, where the side effects don't exist for psilocybin. It's not addictive. You get relief for a significant period of time. It's demonstrated that it's very effective for anxiety, depression, PTSD.
I look at this like more and more states decriminalizing certain psychedelics, obviously psilocybin being one. What do you think? Like, first off, with the progress that's being made, but looking at the size and market potential psilocybin mushrooms carries in the worldwide research and development market, it's huge.
Yeah, and there's billions of dollars currently spent on treatment for anxiety and depression and PTSD, and there's billions of dollars of lost productivity. So ultimately, when one of these researchers is successful and has a program that's approved and prescriptions start getting written, presumably for both clinic treatments of large doses as well as microdoses for people to basically, get a prescription and take their microdose 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah. We're going to be talking about millions and millions of subscriptions and billions of dollars worth of product that's going to be sold. And that's why our strategy is to be a supplier of API. It kind of makes us agnostic as to which one of these researchers crosses the finish line, because we want to be a supplier to many of them. And then ultimately we can be a supplier of that API for pharmaceutical product when it's being commercialized.
I have to look, and I know there's been a lot of chatter on Reddit. Companies like yourself across the board, what a time entry point prices for people that are getting in right now. But when you look at this, obviously being CEO, you're going to say that you feel like you're grossly undervalued. But when you look at these prices, like I can't help but feel there's tremendous growth for the overall sector well-being. But do you not think you're extremely grossly undervalued with the way this market has been hit with this industry right now?
Yeah, so the retail investors in particular didn't really understand, didn't understand psychedelics. They thought it was the next cannabis. They were looking for revenue. When they came to the realization that this new drug development path is a 3 to 5 year path, and it's a binary path where a single failure and you're out. I think that's what caused people to blink and move away from it. In our case, every CEO says their stock's undervalued. I take a look at where we're at right now with Spore in the mix now, and a $20 million run rate business and a market cap of about $40 million. That's only 2x sales. So we think there's terrific upside opportunity for investors with our stock. What we need to do, though, Chad, is stay focused on execution, keep building that business, and deliver the numbers. And that's what we're focused on doing.
Good stuff. That's what people like to hear. I know they hate to say it takes time, but that's just the reality. But look at the world we live in. You can go online and buy anything you want on Amazon, and it's at your door 3 hours later, right? But
that's right. But there's a great expression from the IT industry, and it's when people say, "Well, can't you just put more resources against it, make it faster?" It's like, it takes one woman 9 months to have a baby. 9 women can't have a baby in 1 month.
Well said. Well said. Listen, it's great catching up. Great to see you again. And looking forward to obviously keeping in touch with you over the next few months. And it's keep up the great work. And, it's only a matter of time before this industry starts to see some brighter days from a pure investment standpoint, which I think that we're, I continue to say this, it's on the near term horizon. When, I don't know. But most importantly, the right things are happening within the industry for overall long-term growth.
I agree with you completely. So, Chad, thanks very much for having me on. I appreciate it. Good to see you again.
You as well. Thanks, Tim.